I noticed when using a kit of multiple sensors that quite a few of them appear to have only 3 pins, and the wiring is fairly standard. One is 5 volts, one is ground, and the remaining one goes to an analog pin and reports what the sensor is seeing. So it occurred to me it would be a good idea to build a rig that would take any of these sensors and that would then print out on an LCD screen what they were seeing, so that you could get some idea firstly of how sensitive the sensors were and what they reacted to, and secondly what sort of values you might expect to get from them before you actually incorporated the sensor into a project. I tried this out first on a breadboard. As you can see, this is a mess of wires, and it's not really much easier than wiring the whole thing up from scratch. I then tried to wire the whole thing up using soldering things to perf board, and as you can see, this one is powered by a battery, so that in theory it should be entirely self-contained. All I need to do is attach my sensor to 3 of these 4 wires here, and then see what the readings are. There's 4 wires because some of the sensors have 4 wires but appear to only use 3 of them, just to confuse us all. Just to deconstruct this is an Arduino, which is the base. This is the LCD viewer, which has 14 pins out, and this is what I built, which is a perf board, which at this side fits onto the Arduino, and on this side, this way up, fits onto the LCD, and these are the wires coming out. This is a potentiometer which the LCD requires in order to adjust the contrast between its letters and its background. Unfortunately, as you can possibly see, at the moment it is producing gibberish. The LCD display is working, but it is simply coming up with nonsense. When the sensor is not connected, it ought to simply print something like LCD, but it's not. Again, it is simply showing gibberish. So there is some sort of problem with the way that the sensor is wired up. With the way that the LCD is wired up. Just to show that the sensor is in fact working, you can see it printing out on serial as opposed to on LCD the number of seconds, that's the small number, and the sensor reading. This is what the LCD is printing out at the same time. As you can see, still gibberish. The soldering is not the best soldering in the world, but I have checked each of these wires with a multimeter, and they do have a current passing through. Each one is a connection. The LCD module has 14 pin outs, which are not very clearly explained, and indeed one of the LCD modules I've got doesn't number them at all, so it can be quite difficult to actually wire it up properly. I'm not sure you can see the pins there. So there are 2 possibilities. One is that somehow there is a mistake in the soldering and the current isn't running through one of these, but as I say, I've checked that. The other one is that I've wired them up incorrectly somehow, but again I've checked that, so I'm not exactly sure what options remain now.